spring split, but I don't think CLG want to give it a shot. I really feel like this is not quite a must-win for CLG, but pretty darn close. Sure. You do not want to start off 0-3. Even though they've played some pretty good teams thus far, you know this would be a big disappointment for them.
It's kind of the problem, right? They're all really good teams. There's almost no one on the other side you're happy to see at this point. So it's just rough out there in both regions. As CLG starting off with the Xbalanque Thoth bans, that's a little bit different. I believe they've been doing the Xbalanque Terra bans.
Yes, it's been Xbalanque Terra, and United's been doing Athena and Serket.
Right.
This time United go for the Giannis ban instead. So now CLG has Terra or Serket to go for. They can't get both, obviously. So instead, they select the Terra. If United wants to pick Serket here, right? That's what their picks and bans tell me. Otherwise, they just leave the Serket open and take Giannis away from Heroin. No surprise to see Scream go for the Serket.
And I think the reason we're seeing the shakeup, I believe this is the first time CLG have been first pick here in this game as well. So now with them in the first slot, they kind of got to make some adjustments. And that means Chang'e Serket can go over to E United. And if the first two games were any indication, it seems like Chang'e is a pretty good decider of who might be able to win some games here.
Man, who would have thought Chang'e is like the top pick, top ban this week?
I wouldn't have. I guess, yeah.
Incredible. How fast things change in the Smite Pro League. But she's 2-0 so far this set. CLG pick a couple gods that can deal with her okay. Particularly the Raijin, I think, is a good pick here for Heroin. There's a god that can apply Divine Ruin very, very easily from very safe distance. It can be difficult for Chang'e to get on top of Raijin particularly easily. And this is a flex pick now for United because they don't have to put this in solo right away. Now they have the option of taking it into the mid lane for Venenu. In the first two games, both teams had already selected their mid laners at the top three. Now there is some ambiguity.
Sort of get CLG to maybe waste some bans here in the second ban phase. That's what they would really like. And CLG kind of move away from it, right? They ban away the Ganesh, which have been prioritized by over some other Guardians right now that come to mind, like the Geb. And so it's a good idea to take this one away from him, as well as the Ares. So they kind of don't walk into that trap. Then instead of guessing, they go an area where they can be pretty sure.
And I like that Ares ban. PBM's played quite a bit of it during his time in the Pro League, and these are three gods that can struggle against Ares, all three relying on their mobility. Specifically Terra and Hu Yi, though, that can really struggle because neither of those gods have CC immunity in the kit at all. And then Ares can take advantage of that very well. Plus, considering how well PandaCat and PBM played those lanes in the early game, the last two games, it's really been those two dominating the early game laning phase. You don't want to give him an Ares that can get ahead, and if he does get ahead, start to punish your entire team after that.
Now, United have picked the Cerberus for themselves, and they already have the stain on their comp by the way of Chang'e. Might help out a little bit against some of what Terra and Hercules try and do. And they're going to pair that with the Ratatosker, so sort of that semi-global presence from the jungle. Pairs very well with the Raijin. That's good setup for the Taiko drums.
The Morrigan is the final selection. We haven't seen the Morrigan in so long. This is a comfort pick for Venenu, and I think it could really work out because we used to see Morrigan selections whenever there was a Terra on the enemy team to match that global ultimate. Now you can use it just to match the great team fight ultimate that she brings. It can help him match the global rotations or semi-global rotations of this Ratatosker.
Absolutely.
You get double Serket in the early game. I love this pick here for Venenu. I love it.
It really is, especially, I think that the junglers in particular are what's so important here. You said the double Serket and the double Ratatosker. Well, not the double Rat, but they get their own Rat to sort of match up with the Rat of CLG. I mean, I think this Morrigan pick is a great one. And you're right, Venenu does a good job as Mage Morrigan as well. Like, not even transforming. He'll just blow you up and suddenly be in the back of a team fight. I love this for Ven.
So do I. I think this is exactly what United needed. They get the pick that has been highly contested so far this set, the Chang'e, as we all expected, of course. We all knew that was coming.
Double Chang'e, we didn't even say it.
Oh, man, think of that. Actually, if Benji gets a 5-man ult and then Venenu transforms and gets another 5-man ult, good night.
Yeah, whoever that 10th person is or 5th person, they're getting extra stunned, right?
They just like walk away. Yeah, they just
get up from their keyboards and leave. But okay, real quick though, game 3, who you got here, Ryan?
I'm so stoked about this Morrigan pick. I think that's what sold me on E United's draft.
All right, well, we're leaning a little bit towards this Morrigan pick for E United. Tom and Toli, why don't you go ahead and show us the winner?
Game 3 is where we're headed, folks. Tom and Toli breaking it down for you here as we get ready to see these squads go head-to-head. And E United versus Counterlogic Gaming has been E United pretty much in game number 1. And then game number 2 was E United's largely, and then CLG wrestled control. Game number 3 should be a very interesting look.
Well, with Chang'e having, 100% win rate in games 1 and 2, if that's going to be the case in 3, then E United should have this, especially with Venenu getting his Morrigan. We've seen a lot of that in Season 4, something that he's been so comfortable on, and not seeing it too much in Season 5 with other mid-majors getting a little bit of limelight. I'm excited to see what he transforms to.
A lot of different variables is when you draft that Morgan, so teams have been staying away from it, but here we're going to go ahead and grab it and see how United work with that one. Now that we're down to the nitty-gritty, this one's for all the marbles. Everybody looking for the best of 3 victory. Let us know in Mixer Chat who you think is going to take this one. When it comes down to it, this is anybody's game.
That's true. As we head into game number 3, both of these teams taking the best of 3 now into a best of 1 elimination. The way that CLG started the week number 1 was 0-2. Needs to find a victory here to put themselves a little bit closer to that land contention.
Sure. Let's get right into game here for game number 3. CounterLogic Gaming and United. Homie FA going to be on the jungle right at Tasker screen on the circuit. So nothing too crazy out there, just in case y'all thought there might be some weird stuff. Nice and standard.
I mean, outside of the junglers, yeah. The junglers are pretty standard, I would say, but seeing Venenu playing as Morrigan again is a little refreshing. I like to say that. Benji, trying to trade out with Final K. It's important to try to get the poke in early so you can get those Warrior's Blessing stacks. Not to deal with your solo lane opposition, but in case the jungler ganks, you want to have that 15 extra protection.
That's certainly a big deal right there. Venenu on the Morgan. Early game, mid game, late game. It's been a while since we've seen this character. Early game, not her prowess, whereas Herwind on the Raijin, certainly an early game.
The damage is certainly there from Raijin, and a lot of AoE damage between dropping the Raijus and the Percussion Storm. The problem with Venenu is he has to get pretty close to the wave to deal any sort of damage to it. A Scream making this rotation happen. He's trying to assist Venenu transition away from that early laning phase. Look at Homie, though, taking a bunch of damage.
There's a ton of damage coming out onto the enemy jungler there. Homie FA narrowly escaping. Scream and Venenu doing a good job there so far.
Trying to make it happen in the right side mids. Homie FA walks away cleanly with these as left side, though. Herwin trying to contest a 1v2. Not going to get anything there, but look at these different styles of builds between Venenu and Herwin. Venenu probably going to go for cooldown reduction with that Chronos Pennant, but Herwin not interested in that. He's probably going to go straight for a lot of damage. Soul Reaver would be my guess.
Soul Reaver, Book of Thoth are really what could happen. Of course, 2 other options, Book of the Dead and Polynomicon, but that's not really going to happen. Soul Reaver is what we've been conditioned to see. Likely will be that choice there. And as you said, the Morrigan, more likely to go into the Chronos Pendant first. Really high cooldown on that ultimate, so in order to get your money's worth.
Herwin poking out Venenu is an interesting decision considering he has no more mana now for the wave. Yep. A very expensive build to try to rush this book. He doesn't have the health and the mana potions to really keep up with Venenu, so he's going to have to back now, giving a lot of freedom for Venenu now to clear this wave first and then make a lot of a cleaner rotation.
Right. He's going to have all the time in the world here. That said, Herwin did back to base rather early, so I don't think he'll lose too much, especially if Venenu decides to push, which he will. And you see the jungler waiting there just in time.
But not outside the towers. That wave is going to enter the tier 1 tower. Jig's going to secure his own purple buff there. United just barely not in position to steal the buff, but with all the aggression between the Cerberus Artemis, pushing a wave in the dual lane. So the combination of pushing the wave in middle, pushing the wave in the dual lane, CLG needs to be a little bit better about min-maxing their farm.
Herwin, level 3, probably has access to that leap now. So the jungler has to be available. Level 4 even, definitely has access to it. You can see 2 points in the percussive storm. And this is usually what you expect here. You're going to see about 3 or 4 points in this first ability, percussive storm. And then he'll transition into leveling up the Raiju. But the reason we see that is that it's just enough damage for the first ability to clear the wave with those 3 points in it. And then the Raiju brings the damage.
Panda Cat in a lot of trouble because here comes Homie FA with the first blood. Even a double just for his trouble.
Nice stuff for Homie FA there. Just served up. I mean, that's a jungler just dreaming for it, right?
That's what you want to do with any sort of global pressure, whether it's Thor, Thanatos, Ratatasker, you use that global pressure and get your side laners a lead. Maybe you want to shut down Benji on the Chang'e, obviously, but it's not a bad idea shutting down Panda Cat on the late game Artemis too.
Yep, certainly a character that you want to keep in check. And Panda Cat known for his Artemis as well, so perhaps a little extra, boon there in that category. But Benji on the Chang'e looked so damn good in game number 1. Glad to see Final K on the Hercules. This is a character that I think he's a little bit more comfortable on. And thus, I like it a little bit better than the Guan.
But that even forces the hand of Benji trying to rush the physical defense before any sort of boots completed. And that's what you really need to do because of just how much physical power Final K is going to have. Every time you deal damage to him, he builds that passive stack up to 3 times. And with the Warrior Tab Line not complete, that's a lot of mobility that Final K, if he lands a pull into the push before the invulnerability frames come out, Benji could see himself in a sticky situation.
Certainly got to be wary of that combo potential from the Hercules. Venenu trying to toss out a little bit of damage towards Homie Efe, but not quite there just yet. So again, Venenu, certainly not the early game monster that Heroin is on the Raijin. So when do we expect to see the Morgan really step into herself?
It's about that level 13 marker. 3 points in the ultimate, trying to get some cooldown reduction. It's just such a long cooldown without any sort of amplifiers. Global pressure. Homie Efe yet again making his presence.
Waiting his turn. Love to see that. Scream gets the last hit, but Snoopy enters back on a Panda Cat, and he gets 2, in fact, off of the jump from Homie Efe. Like to see the patience come out of Homie Efe because you saw the ultimate from Polar Bear might go out first, and he knew that he would be negated if he jumped right in the thick of things. So he waited for PBM to be done.
PBM feeling good about that, picking up his own purple buff. Unfortunately, Snoopy's hitbox is just not thick enough to prevent the doggo.
Nope, not going to happen this time around.
That's actually a thing, though, between 2 warriors trying to battle over buffs. Both hitboxes are large enough that you can actually just kind of buff each other out from picking up their own blue buff every time.
You just stand on it and you're sitting there saying no thank you.
Yeah, you stand on it on top of it. You're able to just position yourself long enough because it lasts 30 seconds once it drops on the ground, and you can literally be sitting there the whole entire time. And that value before level 7 just becomes more and more valuable. The later the game goes, blue buff less really impactful. So that kind of stuff matters in the long run between these 2 SPL teams.
For sure, for sure, for sure. Early on in this one, Counter Logic Gaming have found themselves a bit of a lead. About 1,000 gold, give or take, 13-15 to be more precise, wave to wave, of course. Venenu here, fighting uphill on the Morgan. Immediately getting caught out by the Raijin.
Got spotted out there. No escape, rather. Venenu struggling against the double pressure.
Hard commit.
That's what you got to do against Morrigan. You can't allow any breathing room to allow Morrigan to just run rampage.
Looking for the red buff is CLG. They'll get it. That's why we saw the hard commit onto the Morgan right there, honestly, is the fact that the red buff was coming right on up. And CLG wanted to continue their invade streak. Panda Cat in trouble. Will dodge out the stun right there. No big deal. But still continuing what they're doing here.
That's been the identity for CLG this game. Just focus on the dual lane. Ever since Homie Efe used through the Cosmos, it's been a part of 100% of the kills out of CLG. Got 3 for himself, assisted in 2 additional ones. Impressive stuff out of the young rat.
So with this lead, if you will, 2,000 gold, right? Small. Where does CLG look? Do they force a gold tier in a couple of minutes?
Not necessarily, unless they can find some picks onto Venenu, because obviously he can also transform to a lot of people and Scream. If they can make sure that Benji is preoccupied with Final K, they pick off Scream and Venenu and only have to worry about PBM and Panda Cat, that could be their small window. And even then, it's risky because there's not that big bang burst out of CLG. Yes, Heroin's ultimate does a lot of damage, but that's over 4 hits. There could be a small window where Panda Cat can snatch that through a wall.
Gotta be careful of that one for sure. And don't forget, you always have the threat of Venenu turning into the Ratatasker.
That's why you gotta kill him. Eliminate the threat.
Not a bad plan. Not a bad plan. Soul Reaver is actually a book of thought. So,
Considering that he was out of mana during the laning phase, I don't necessarily blame this decision. It's not a bad idea to synergize even with Book of the Dead. It's been, you know, it's experimented with in the past before, but with some of the recent changes, people have elected to kind of deter themselves away from the Book of Thoth plus Book of the Dead combination. But still, the amount of power that you get from this item, very impactful, especially against squishy targets that don't have the health. Venenu not going for the Warlock Staff. Trying to invade the red buff as well. Harrowin walks away, allowing Snoopy to pick it up instead.
Meanwhile, Homie F8 in the sky, you know, out to go safe.
Actually, Venenu that wanted to run away because Homie F8 lands on Scream, setting up final kill.
Venenu does use the transformation to find the jungler's body. And right away to the Gold Fury goes CLG. Much less of a force here. This is after the fact.
Yep.
Loving it.
They know that Venenu's ultimate's down. They don't have to worry about Scream's last breath. They have vision also right in the mid lane. It's right outside that sentry ward out of EUN. Nice stuff.
Easy. Easy.
They make it look easy. It's not. It's definitely not as easy.
No, it's not. No. That's the fun part, is that they make this stuff look easy.
Yep.
And it's anything but. EUN, in case you guys have forgotten, they're the defending world champions.
Trying to make a play onto Harrowin though. Can't do so as he uses the purification beads and jumps away.
And so a team of their skill level to be able to do this. Very big deal. Great job, CLG, so far.
Benji gonna get poked out, but honestly, yes, United has the title still around their waist, but these teams can easily contend with the best of them. It's just when the pressure is on the line, which team steps up? Because CLG, you know, they struggled a little bit in week 1, losing to Trifecta 1-2, not finding a single win against Space Station Gaming. They don't really have that much to lose, whereas United, they made land. They know what it takes to win. So there's actually more pressure on United, even online. So a lot of these other teams that don't make it to LAN play a little bit more comfortable.
Sure. Certainly something to think about. Final K going to be stopped. Doesn't realize Scream's here. All of a sudden, here's the cavalry. That should be an easy death onto the Hercules.
Needs one more hit. Can't find the anti-healing at the last second as Benji trying to set up Scream for the last hit, but the minions.
What a play by Final K. Scream going to be taken care of by Herwin as well. And Final K comes back. Gives his middle laner a double kill. And you earned it, Fonzie. Go for it. Love the taunts. Oh, baby. Final K. That was
all Herwin setting him up afterwards. That taunt onto Scream, if that doesn't happen, Scream gets away. And then Benji would probably still have fallen, but because Scream dies, look at this level disparity. Homie F8, 4 levels ahead of this Circuit. Great counter rotation out of Herwin. Final K just barely, narrowly avoided the anti-heal out of Benji on top of this. United feeling themselves a little bit too much in game number 3.
Even if Final K doesn't get the kills there, I'm celebrating. That was just fantastic. Heads-up awareness, keeping his debuffs in his mind. Very easy to go ahead because you notice he uses the meditation, or excuse me, he uses the shell in the exchange, has to get out of there, and then uses his Hercules heal after the fact. Really nice stuff there coming out from Final K. Just a heads-up play from the solo laner. CLG gets a double kill on their mid laner because of a heads-up rotation from Herwind. Great play from Final K, and just great awareness from Hurry.
And the thing is, because Venenu's so far behind, he needs to sit in the mid lane to farm. So there's a lot of leeway for Herwin to make that initial rotation happen. CLG picking up where the holes are. So if Herwin rotates right lane, someone else is going to cover it for him. While Homie FA was invading the left lane, Jakes can easily hold that wave any single time that he wants. And that's the cohesion you really need out of an SPL team. Scream, though, barely able to survive that one.
Yeah, he's going to jump on out of there. Homie Effie, nice control against the enemy jungler.
Oh, he's not done yet. I think he's looking for a Scream. No, he's going to go back to the red buff invade. They know Circuit is not available. Forces out the beads. Add a Panic Hat. Boar on top of it is about to ping pong. And that's the defensive utility that United needs to just run away.
Rajan going to walk away after again. The red buff invade. CLG has looked for that buff a number of times, and because of that, sit about 4,000 gold, 4,500 gold above their competitors.
Scream. Making a rotation, but he doesn't have an ultimate in the mid lane if he really wants to make it happen. CLG are not giving anything in return to EU United this game. Every single offensive play CLG had, there's nothing defensively that EU United seemed to squander.
None whatsoever. 8-1 early on. CLG got a nice lead early on. Gold Fury was killed early on. It's about to spawn here, Toli.
Not early on.
No, in about 17 seconds. But that'll likely be the target for CLG. Getting some vision over there, first and foremost. FA looking over to the right-hand side, trying to figure out what he wants to do with his time, because clearly CLG are going to hit this Gold Fury as soon as it shows up, and they're daring the enemy team to respond.
They have the power. All they need to do is apply it at the right places. They're going to try to bait United in a bad, awkward position. Jigs has plenty of control between this monolith route. Forces PBM to try to respond. He needs to jump away, and that's going to allow Homie FA to clean him up.
Polar Bear Mike fall down. That's the first casualty of this one. Homie FA in the sky. Panic Cat in the ground. Double kill for the Iron Homie. Not done just yet.
And Fury actually stopped Scream from being aggressive there. Doesn't want to get the damage off, making his last breath less impactful. His final K wasn't even involved.
Love that
whole
call.
scuffle. He's just going to get that tier 1 mid tower instead, giving his team 500 gold. And because Panic Cat was only level 11, he didn't have the Aegis to really survive that tower dive.
Love that call from Final K. If you notice, he uses the ultimate to clear the wave just to make sure that he can get the tower. That's understanding exactly what's going on. And now he's going to push around Scream here.
Potentially, if he found the right sweet double spot.
Really is. Because he doesn't save his ultimate.
No.
He saves his ultimate to ult the wave of minions and slowly but surely tick down a 500 gold tier 1 tower. Not because he's getting the gold for his team, because the map presence that the tier 1 tower gives you will allow his team to transition into a fire giant fight later on.
Hindsight's all 2020, and Final K did the right play at the right moment. He's not thinking about ganking like you said, because his team has so much control that he doesn't have to worry about any sort of counter response out of EU United. If they were to get frisky, well, he has enough cooldown reduction to fight back into it between the Breastplate of Valor and Genji's Guard having 30% total.
And that's kind of where I was going with that, was that Final K put himself there, demanding that United respond to him, because better kill the Hercules that's taking the tier 1 tower than, oops, my whole team getting the Gold Fury. So he's sitting there going, look, either I'm going to get a tower or I'm going to get ganked. But either way, I'm doing my job of zoning. Final K just crushing it. It's really nice to see him do well in lane, and unfortunately for him and his fans, he certainly did not do that in game number 1. He got trounced harder than I've ever seen him get trounced. But to be able to just have the team in mind the entire time, I think it's a great move for what Final K wants to do.
Ooh, Veneno forced to use the Aegis. Homie FA has to go into the sky. He's afraid of the stun out of the Morgan, so he'll disengage out of that one. Forces out the Aegis out of Veneno. It's a good trade. And the boar from Panda Cat.
Red buff about to spawn, and guess what? CLG are here.
I mean, if you have this kind of a lead, the map is almost yours for the picking. United can't even comfortably leave the outskirts of their tier 2 tower without using their relics. That's when you know things are starting to go in a slippery slope. When you have to start using your sentry wards pre-20 minutes into the game before Fire Giant is even being looked at, United have to find a way to bounce back, but CLG without any sort of breathing room allowed.
Yeah, about 5,000 gold in the lead is Counter Logic Gaming, 6,000 to be precise. And with 20 minutes looming here, Anatoly, CLG, their next move, is it Fire Giant or is it elsewhere?
Depends on how frisky they're feeling. If they can keep forcing out these defensive relics, I say go for it at that point. They're able to get up both relics out of Veneno while only trading the ultimate out of Homie. Things are only going to be looking more pretty for CLG, or even baiting out Scream if they really wanted to.
Scream going to be dashing on back there. Benji local as well. United not having the game they had dreamed about earlier. Benji providing a little bit of poke onto Final K, but likely going to need a little bit more in that regard. This time around, not going the Warlock staff as he did in game number 1. A little bit more under pressure, so had to go directly into the breastplate.
That's true. Whenever you have a lead, you could definitely walk away cleanly with the timing of building the Warlock staff. But when you're in a deficit, when your team is calling for you to rotate for team fights, you don't have time to build those stacks, so better to be more impactful in this power curve at the moment.
I've spoken to a lot of high-end solo laners, from whoever you would guess was number 1 to some of the more humble solo laners, let's say. And all of them say, whenever playing Guardian, Warlock staff is what I wish I could build. But I can't because that's not how competitive Smite works. And I said, even on gods like Sobek? I said, absolutely. The stats are what you want. A ton of HP, some power to augment what you're trying to do as like the warrior-esque type player.
Some mana.
And some mana. Theoretically, Warlock staff is what every solo lane Guardian wants to build. But because of the demands, of competitive Smite, you're not given the luxury of sitting in your lane and farming up the stacks, because if you do that, people are going to press tab, look that you're building stacks, and then camp you. Because Warlock staff is not really a full item until about 50 to 60 stacks.
Well, they either camp you or they force team fights elsewhere.
Exactly. Either way, they take advantage of the fact that you went into that itemization. So you're just not allowed to go that. In game number 1, Benji was playing with Final K. It was a ridiculous gold lead, ridiculous experience lead. So he had the luxury of going into the Warlock staff. Here, this a little bit more reflective of a traditional Smite game at the competitive level. So has to go into that breastplate first item. Great example of playing the game you're given and playing the hand you're dealt.
United playing the hand that they're dealt, trying to go for a forceful fire giant. Final K gonna get zoned away with that Stygian tournament, but homie landing in the sky. Here comes the drums.
3, 4. United still confirmed the fire giant even through the drum solo of Erwin, but it doesn't seem like it matters. Benenu, 2 versus 1 on the left hand side. Polar Bear Mike trying to chase homie and Fiala doesn't even get the kill. Final K trying to protect his jungler, and that he will. Scream can't catch up.
Snoopy coming back into this team fight. It's actually going to get stunned. Final K forcing PBM outside of the Suns, unfortunately, out of Snoopy. But Final K definitely needed to survive that one. What a small window United had to secure that one, even in the pressure from a tanky Hercules in their face, the global pressure out of Homie FA, the long auxiliary range out of Whirlwind, still secure the Fire Giant. It also delays the game a little bit to make sure that CLG don't have that extra structure damage or the regen for once they start sieging some of these tier 2 towers. And now they're going for Gold Fury.
What a great call. What a great call from front to back out of E United. Gold Fury 25%. CLG though seeping in here. Final K gonna do what he can to push players off of the Gold Fury. Looking for Benji, won't find it because of the dance.
Unfortunately, because Panicat was dead during that whole time.
Damn.
Nice try out of Benji, not able to secure that one. CLG walks away clean with that Gold Fury, but because Panicat was dead from that original Fire Giant siege, United didn't have the DPS in that small window, whereas they did have Panicat for the fire earlier.
That Gold Fury is rough when I look at United, because that one gets them back a little bit into it, but totally, does it matter that it goes to CLG? I feel like that Gold Fury is one-sided, and let me platform myself. I feel like that matters to E United because if they get that Gold Fury, they have Fire Giant, and they've shortened the lead to about 2,000 gold, maybe even. If CLG get that Gold Fury, E United still have the Fire Giant, and they're up 8,000 gold. What's the difference between 6.5 to 8,000 gold? Whereas E United getting it ties the game?
Well, it's not going to matter while E United has the Fire Giant, because you're not going to want to siege against them, having all sort of that. But once that fizzles away, that 8.5 to 6,000 difference is going to be a huge margin between 6 items versus 4.5 to 5 items.
E United, aren't they expected to get a number of towers because of their Fire Giant?
No, there's no way they're going to be able to siege this collectively because of the experience gap. Panicat's level 15, Snoopy's sitting at 18. He's going to be able to be more impactful with the Suns. Panic Cat is on the defensive. So is Venenu the whole entire game. Scream can't seem to make the highlight play that he needs, and Benji is just at the mercy of his teammates.
So even with this Fire Giant buff, very important gold tree for Counter Logic Gaming.
Very important for them to just wait out the Fire Giant and then continue to siege.
Benji in some trouble here, getting collapsed on by, well, everybody. Heroin in the ultimate, though, that should be punished.
He originally did have the range to find Benji, but because every single ability Chang'e uses gives you extra movement speed, Benji was able to separate himself away from Heroin's drums.
Ultimate used by Hurry. That's about it, though. United trailing by 7K, looking for their opportunity.
It also forced the shell out of Benji, so a 2-minute window if CLG wanted to force a fight after Heroin's ultimate comes back up. Not too much cooldown reduction on the Raijin, only about 10% on the Spear of Desolation. Surprised that he's going to go for... Oh, he might be going for Chronos Pendant now, but I was surprised to see not any sort of more penetration, whether it be the Obsidian Shard or that Spear of Magus.
Right. Yeah, I mean, those are kind of the standard options, right? Especially when you look at Spear of the Magus.
Especially at this point when you're this far ahead and you're looking to close out the game in a world where there's a lot of defenses for PBM and even a little bit on the side of Benji. Not too much magical defense, only realistically the Lotus Crown proc.
22
and the
everybody.
and the Warrior's Blessing evolution, but that's 35 total, so I guess in that world you don't have to worry about Benji's defenses too much.
But Benji's giving 20 to everybody.
That's true.
That's, yeah, I'm definitely interested in penetration. You're getting 15 from the stick, right?
A little bit from the Spear of Desolation, not too much, but it's going to help mitigate some of that 20.
The difference in analysts. The stick. Spear of Desolation, sir.
Chair 1 versus 2.
Snoopy getting in trouble here. Jumped on by the, well, the jungler. And he knows he's toast.
I'm not sure if Scream is warranted taunting there. The game is still far from his grasp. He made a fantastic plays in game number 1, but not making those plays happen in game 3.
Nah.
Maybe, like, it's just, I guess, trying to get into the head more than anything, but at this point, CLG can still fight 4-on-5 right now.
Celebrate, baby, celebrate. I like it, Scream. I see you. Benji, dancing away from Final K.
It's like hitting a three-pointer, but you're still down like 24.
So, you're still gonna shimmy.
I guess that's the difference between Chair 1 and Chair 2.
Fire Giant being aggressed on by United here for the second time in as many attempts. This time, CLG a little bit closer. There is a rat in the sky. And it's going to be fine. Okay, to take care of Venenu. Big boy damage out of the Hercules. Pull, push on the Polar Bear Mike. He's likely to fall. Body blocked. Homie Effie. Number 13. All good luck for CLG in that team fight, as the United only have 2 kills.
CLG, they could fight 4-on-5. They didn't need Snoopy for that encounter. Still holding on to the Fire Giant very cleanly. That was a last-ditch effort that United needed to secure themselves back into game. If they got this Fire Giant, it would have been the enhanced one, and that would have started to make the difference because the gold and the experience is starting to get closer and closer to that 5th and 6th item slot. But now, with CLG getting this Fire Giant, those tier 2 towers are not standing much longer. And this 8,700 gold lead is about to skyrocket to about 12,500, if not more.
Yeah, CLG in a great spot right now. Yeah, United not in a great spot right now. CLG is what an interesting team, my friend. What an interesting team. Before Season 5 began and you looked on paper and you looked at this lineup, you said, holy, they're going to crush it. And then they kind of did. And then they kind of definitely didn't. And then first week, and then they missed the land, but they looked pretty okay during the regular season. And then you come into the summertime, Tully, and they get beat by Trifecta, who are definitely on their way up, but they get beat by Trifecta. That's not a team that you lose to as CLG. But then here, game number 1 was a little bit rough, but game 2 and game 3, CLG have seized the moment and it very, very intensely.
They need to have the right shot calling whenever things are looking good or bad for them. Because when you're ahead, it's very easy to close out games. You have enough experience with that with pub stomping and casuals or ranked. So everyone on the same cylinder as long as everyone's winning their lane short. But what happens when you're on the back foot? What can you really do? CLG, they struggled against Trifecta. They didn't find a win against Space Station Gaming, but they're looking to close it out today against United.
Jungler still stuck in the middle lane. Scream looks like he's in ambush, just waiting. He's not even in ambush, just waiting there. Blinks forward, flies good, done, and the taunt, and the ultimate, and the kill. Venenu takes care of homie Effie.
That's the kind of sneaky play that United needs to apply onto CLG to keep themselves in the game. Even still holding on to their left side, Phoenix was still just waiting for homie Effie. They thought that tier 2 tower was going to be free and clean, but that blink play from Scream, so important to set up Venenu. And even that basic attack after applying all the poisons, everything had to kind of align perfectly to find that kill.
Gold Fury, United's target here. This one goes down easy peasy, no contest. CLG. That one, now that one's certainly more important for United than CLG. The difference between a 10,000 gold lead and an 8,000 gold lead for the team, or the difference between a 10,000 gold lead and a 12,000 gold lead is irrelevant. But the difference between shaving 2,000 off is really nice, especially as we reach the final moments of the game, or it could be, because of the fact that they're going to even up their itemization, coming closer to the 6 item slot.
And now, because of this kind of style between the double gank onto homie Efe, it also buys a lot of time for E United to fizzle away CLG's enhanced Fire Giant buff. Only 45 more seconds on that buff. I don't really think they have that timing window that they need to get the Phoenixes, or at least for additional waves. Maybe 1 wave worth of a push is in CLG's gas tank, but certainly not 2. And this is where somebody from CLG has to set up the shot calling, and that needs to be on PBM.
Really nice play from Jigs there, setting up the, reading the jump from PBM, who will narrowly escape with his life. Left side push, 17 seconds left on Fire Giant, and so CLG just going for it. On the backside, homie F8 lurking, trying to keep things safe. Venenu takes care of one, Scream takes care of the other. CLG now on the retreat. And jumping forward is Scream, looking for fine okay.
Venenu just casually walks in stealth between every CLG member, transforms into Terra, gives them the clap, and then the rest of E United clean up.
Nice play there. Just clean stuff. And Venenu, his ability, we talk about the Morrigan, and the Morrigan is a god in her own right. And when you see players, I always think of Zeros as a great The Morrigan player. But Venenu, and I'm not saying he's not a great The Morrigan player. He does The Morrigan totally fine. What stands out when Venenu plays is his ability to pilot every other damn character on the map.
You have to evaluate every situation for what it's worth. And Venenu saw a small, little light in the darkness of the tunnel, and he crawled through it to allow his team this kind of an advantage. And honestly, Venenu had a very difficult matchup against Origin at the beginning of this game, but Morrigan that still gets to level 20, 5 items deep outside of the evolved Mage's Blessing, is still going to do Morrigan things. And that's going to be important for United to get back into this game, still holding on to all to their Phoenixes, even game at this point.
Keeping everything intact. 33 minutes on the clock. CLG with 13 kills. Fire Giant, this will be their second. They've got the big boy. E United back to base and give the Fire Giant up. How do you feel about that one, Tolfred?
I think CLG are feeling good about it, and I don't think E United are too deterred. I think that since they've been able to defend the previous one, that they should be in a decent spot to defend this one.
Should E United have been at Fire Giant to defend?
No, they didn't need it whatsoever. They also invested a Waxing Moon for whatever reason to stop Final K from securing the Pyromancer. So without the Chang'e ultimate, it kind of makes sense as to why they didn't want to engage. Also, Scream's Blink was still on cooldown.
So with that in mind, CLG. You know, it's interesting. I was going to call that CLG has the momentum. I think the wind suck is pointing down. I don't think the wind is floating in any team's direction right now. It felt like United had the momentum after they clawed their way back into this, and then they get the hot kills on the defense of the left side, Phoenix. But CLG able to just shake that off, grab an objective. I think this is both teams ready to go. We're at the 50-50 right now.
Well, CLG, the ball is in their court to make the play, but I'm sure United looking for a steal as Veneno still looking for those sneaky stealth plays and probably going to go into the Terra yet again if he can get in between everybody, or if he's looking for the long range, go into Homie FA's Rat.
Right now, just playing it safe, looking for a little bit of stun to set up.
Oh, Venenu's the target.
There's the sprint. Veneno going to go right into the Terra. Look for some of the team fight estimations. As Panicat takes that estimation and turns it into an equation. Final K gets the answer. 1 for 1. I don't know what I'm talking about here, folks, but the cacophony and the chaos of all these team fights is getting inside of me real quick because everything seems to just be going in every direction.
The 1 for 1 heavily favors Z United. There's no more Hunter damage out of CLG. More difficult to find the Phoenixes. If CLG don't find any additional picks, they cannot aggress 4-on-4. And Scream's going to be closer to the Phoenixes than Snoopy will once the respawn happens.
Well, one more time, CLG pushing in. Final K leading the charge. Bear Mike is here and available.
Not only that, look at all these traps outside the Phoenix. CLG have to dance around these traps. Final K needs to absorb it.
Well, Jigs is going to absorb everything. Jigs cut down by the Artemis player.
Homie FA, he dashed into the trap. Panicat with a double. E United still going forward.
Meanwhile, E United pushing up this middle lane. A minute on Homie and Jigs. 4 players strong. Scream in the back line. United pushing up this lane. Panicat with a fantastic... That's when your Hunter gets noticed. Panicat has kind of done nothing all game. But that fantastic trap placement and the late game Artemis damage making noise when it counts here. CLG on the back end now. Oh my goodness.
5-on-3. CLG still with Fire Giant on those members if they can really make something happen. It's not on Snoopy because he revived, but it's on Herwin if he can find the shots but not wanting to overextend, because if they die here, EUnite or CLG, they lose their Titan immediately after this Phoenix. So wanting to take a step backwards, it's EUnite on the offensive and CLG playing defense.
I love this call, and I want players at home to really look at this. The Hunter is picking up the speed buff. I'm sure if he had the choice of red buff, he would go for it. But the speed buff here, for the Artemis specifically, is a great choice because Panicat is going to have to run away from everybody trying to jump on him in the backline.
That's what you got to do with the Artemis. Kind of bait yourself out. Time your relics, time your ultimate to get that CC immunity. Rely on your teammates to bail you out. That's kind of why Artemis has been such a high flavor pick in Season 5. Her late game damage and also just her crowd control. And the way Venenu's been able to kind of transition from this magical mage Morgan to a Terra in the late game, it's just been an absolute nightmare.
That's what I was talking about. Venenu's ability to pilot everybody on the map is ridiculous. I mean, one of the interesting things about the Morgan, especially it being... I don't know if it's more of a mid lane pick or a jungle pick, but it seems to be more of a mid lane pick as of late. It is unreasonable to expect your mid laner to know how to play Terra. If your mid laner doesn't know how to play Arlong Shen, nobody's mad at you. But if you can do that, and you can play the Morrigan,
as long as you press 4, once you transform to Terra, you've done your job.
That's fair.
You don't necessarily need to hit the stun every time.
Sure, you say that, but you saw the impact Venenu had when he was able to get the stun.
Onto Snoopy.
You saw the impact that he was able to make. If you could do that, that's next level.
Next level onto Jigs here. Earth and Fury from CLG support trying to force Benji away. Up in the sky, Homie FA lands, and Benji will be the first victim to fall. Now a 5-on-4 for CLG.
CLG looking forward. Venenu going to go right into the Terra, find the dash, but it's all about that ultimate, baby. Safe and sound underneath the tower. Venenu is at least, but the rest of them, I don't know so much.
Oh, Homie blinks on in, almost takes out the life. He needs to find the dash, the stun off the mark from the paralyzing spin, the pull into the push, trying to set up another kill onto PBM. This time, it's CLG with a 5-on-3.
Wonderful play by CLG, just dominating this team fight.
If that hit, I would have lost my marbles.
Snoopy's so close, you don't have any marbles left. Jake's gonna walk right into the trap. CLG gonna walk right past this and just completely ignore E United. Or maybe just miss it. The way he totally missed my shot.
I see you. CLG, man, this game is so back and forth.
This game is, I mentioned it, I mentioned before, I mean, this is the game that I always want to see game 3s as. I don't mind, truthfully speaking, I don't mind a stomp every now and then. You know what? It's kind of fun to watch a team just all out flex real hard. Sometimes, earlier today, we saw Energy beat Rival in like 22 minutes. Bruh, sometimes it's fun watching these teams go all in, all out. But when it comes time for game 3, Anatoly, I want to see back and forth and back and forth, and CLG and E United have absolutely delivered. Thank you. Not you, the teams.
Oh. You're welcome, Thomas. But anyway, CLG clearly proven that they can battle with the best of them, despite their lackluster Week 1 performance.
Man, this is how CLG should be playing in my mind. So I'm not sitting here like, oh man, I had this conversation with somebody on Reddit. There's a difference when...
That's your first problem.
Sure. But there's a difference when a lower end team takes a game off a higher end team, right? CLG, if this is Splice battling E United right now, I'm celebrating them just for being here, right? But this is Counter Logic Gaming. This is the team that Final K, Homie FE, Herwin, Jinx, and Snoop. This is a team that could be a #1 play. This could be a #1 seed going to LAN. They should be here, Anatoly. So I'm excited and I'm thrilled with the level of gameplay that we're seeing. Don't get me wrong. But on the other side, I don't think they deserve any high praise just for being here. This is where they deserve to be. This is where they have been. And they need to continue this.
They just need to find that X factor. All the members of CLG have so much synergy playing together, whether it was on a past team or just together outside in general. But United are no slouch as to how to play defenses. You're not winning High-Res Expo Smite World Championship without knowing how to be on the back foot every now and then. And United trying to make it happen against CLG. The ultimate test now for CLG. They tried 3 times before, attempt number 4 in the mid lane now.
I like what Venenu's doing. Repeatedly setting his clone out there, just seeing if anybody will bite. Final K up front. Trying to catch a little bit of nonsense. Venenu ready with the stun. Trying to hang on to it. Gonna let it dissipate. Meanwhile, the rest of United still playing defense. Nicely spaced. United, Venenu, excuse me, avoiding the Raiju.
Somebody needs to eat those traps, and that's what Final K did on the 1 trap, but not pressing forward. Venenu is always threatening the possible one, finally landing on the trap, but that's a lot of return damage. Herwin is a sitting duck, forced to jump away, Scream on the backside, barely surviving Venenu, forcing the Earth and Fury onto CLG, but the rest of E United are not interested in following up.
They want to stay underneath the Phoenix, making sure that they have the 5-on-6.
But look at the ultimate disparity. All the ultimates from E United gone. Final K was still an ultimate. Excavate could be the difference for CLG.
We'll see how much damage that one's going to do. A little bit of the stun clap coming out from the Terra. Blink in the back line is going to be Homie Effie. Can't find a target just yet.
Pull forces the beats.
Looking for some more crowd control. United, 90% on their bird.
The pull forced the beats out of Panic Cat. That is a huge advantage for CLG if they wanted to aggress. But Homie Efe, without the beats, needs to wait for the ultimate to penetrate that backline. Mid Phoenix very low. This could be the first Phoenix now.
Final K with the flip and the kick onto Benji's Chunga. Finds a great stun and he'll find Snoopy as well. Down goes the Hunter. Excavate is great. 1-for-1. Venenu answers back, immediately taking out the ball deliverer. 4 players alive on a United. 3 players alive on CLG. Defense of the Phoenix successful. United surging forward. Herwin taking a chunk.
This is a bait. It's going to be onto Venenu potentially, but the Earth and Fury as the Terra transform. Venenu actually misses his monolith. He chose the wrong one onto Jigs.
He chose Jigs' monolith. Couldn't find the explosion. United still pushing forward. 44 on Final K, 35 on Snoop.
Still holding on to their middle Phoenix. This is what makes E-United so elite. They know when it's time to pull the trigger. As soon as Final K steps on the second trap, not the first one, got a little bit of poke on the first one, but the second one was the all-in commit, trading ultimate for ultimate every which way you look at it, still holding on for the moment as Fire Giant due to respawn in 15 seconds. Game is just wild.
It's the small things. You really mentioned, I love the way you did that. I love the way that you mentioned the fact that United engaged on the second trap, because there wasn't anything stopping them from engaging on the first trap. And I might be giving them too much credit, but I think that was the tactic. I think Polar Mike sat there and said, let them take one trap and let them feel safe, so that when they go for the second trap, they won't be expecting the all-in. Because you're expecting the all-in on the first trap.
Yep.
And then when that doesn't come, you are kind of like, all right, I'll go for a second one. And then you get sort of a surprise there. I think that was really well done by United, and I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think they did that on purpose.
Look at United, though. They're not interested in giving CLG a free Fire Giant. Snoopy is the selection shell, buying him a moment, but it's not enough. First death.
Scream takes care of that one. 5 on 4, one more time. 5 on 3, one more time. Final K falls to the wayside. Over a minute for both of those players. Homie FA is backing the base. United ignoring the Fire Giant and just heading to the middle lane.
With a 45-minute game, these respawn timers are getting really lengthy. 50 seconds on Snoopy, 55 for Final K, 5 on 3. CLG can't hold on to their middle Phoenix yet again, and this one could be an end attempt if they really wanted to.
That's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to go right for the Titan. Bear in mind, Jolie, if United lose this fight, CLG walk up mid and lane and win the game themselves. Titan right now, 80%. United right on in here. Jigs is low, Homie FA is low, but Say can stop Scream. Scream jumps on out, 50% of the Titan. Herwin does have the ultimate available, but it's going to be Venenu taking him out before activation. United. Game 3 above CLG.
Bouncing back, the whole entire game was a defensive effort out of United. They found some windows of opportunity. Once they got those 2 picks around the Fire Giant, they just saw the light at the end of the tunnel and didn't look back.
Nice stuff, nice decision making from United. Everything from, we were talking about the second trap, small picture to big picture. Screw the Fire Giant, go right for the Titan. Really like the decision making coming out from United here. Counter Logic Gaming, though, proving that despite the loss against Trifecta from United, everything from, we were talking about, that's the question we posed to you guys in Mixer chat. Where are you feeling?
Venenu. It's got to be Venenu. The way I'm looking at the left Phoenix Siege when he literally stealthed between everybody and surprised all of CLG with a Terra.
Venenu is certainly a player to look at. We'll see what the official call is. Congratulations one more time to United. Above CLG, Game 3. Let's break it down.
I don't know what the official call is yet, Tom, but for my money, it's Venenu, man. That Morgan looked excellent. Game 3 going the way of E United over CLG. What about you, Ryan?
I mean, look, Terra's first pickable in every sense of the word. Her ultimate wins team fights by itself. So why not just take one for yourself? You know, we can't compete with their Terra ultimate. We need one of our own. That's where the Morrigan comes in. And Venenu played it very, very well. Also, Benji's Chang'e was a nightmare for CLG to deal with. I mean, look at that last mid-Phoenix siege. Benji gets plucked in. Oh, yeah. Great look from CLG. You think that's going to be an easy CLG team fight. Benji then turns around, stuns Snoopy, then Anti-heal's fine, okay. He ultimately falls, but it was already too late. United won the team fight because of the plays that Benji made.
It's excellent plays from United all around, and sounds like Mixer Chat, you all have it correct there, at least in my opinion, got it correct. Venenu is who you all selected as your MVP on that Morrigan pick, and what a pocket pick, right? Going into game 3, I mean, yes, Venenu plays this Morrigan, but not all the time, not every game, and he was ready to pull it out here when it counted.
This is the one that Tolly was talking about, where he just gets in position, use that Terra ultimate, kind of like a pseudo blink almost in that instance. I mean, you're right, he hasn't played it very much at all. Really, no one's played the Morrigan very much at all since she received that change, the way that her passive interacted with Hunter's Blessing. She was all over the place at the beginning of Season 5, then fell off after that. This is a pick that we definitely will see more of throughout the rest of the season and the rest